This is your last day here, cheater.
I was running my power drill through lumber when the phone vibrated against my workbench. Social media alert. Lisa never included me in posts anymore, so the algorithm must have figured something out. For once, it was right. There was my wife at some discount autumn festival I'd never seen. She was draped over this guy Daniel like they were celebrating something special. I knew Daniel because his name came up constantly around our house. Daniel thinks that new restaurant looks good. Daniel's son is also in advanced classes. Daniel makes work bearable for me. That Daniel. Our 2 children sat behind them on hay bales, completely oblivious they were being used as scenery for someone else's moment. The text underneath read, "My true partner, perfect family outing." The betrayal didn't slam into me. It was more like something essential just snapped inside, quiet and final. I looked at it for 60 seconds without moving, watched the likes accumulate underneath. Her colleague added a laughing face. Another commented, "Adorable work crew." My jaw tightened involuntarily. Then completely calmly, I left one word, "Congratulations." No emotion, no punctuation, just that. I closed the application, powered down my screen, went back to my measurements. The pencil stayed tucked behind my ear. The project still needed completion, but my hands felt more stable than they'd been all day. Later, I'd understand what that moment represented. Not devastation, not surprise, authorization. She'd given me the blade. I just needed to choose the target. The children were inside watching animated movies. Something about sea creatures or kitchen rodents. Lisa hadn't returned from her alleged visit to her cousin upstate. Left early Saturday with a small suitcase and theatrical exhaustion, claiming she needed distance from our regular madness. Apparently, our family qualified as madness. I came through the garage entrance. Everything seemed ordinary. Still had that laundry detergent smell mixed with yesterday's window cleaner. Normal domestic life, undisturbed. The refrigerator displayed a crayon artwork from our youngest. Mommy, Daddy, me, Tommy, plus our dog. 5 stick people under a spiky sun. I examined the 5th figure carefully. Me. No facial features drawn. The others had smiles. I removed it, folded it once, tucked it into our miscellaneous drawer under pizza delivery flyers. Upstairs, her closet door sat partially open. The overnight bag wasn't visible on the floor. Her exercise shoes were missing too. I began noticing things with uncomfortable precision. A headband that didn't belong to her. Masculine fragrance on her coat that certainly wasn't mine. In our home office, I accessed the browser and navigated to the legal firm I'd saved months earlier. Never had reason to click before now. Amazing how quickly the boundary between suspicious and sensible dissolves when your spouse publicizes family photos featuring another man. I arranged a consultation for that afternoon, selected the confidential option, uploaded a screenshot of her post with its caption intact. Felt like filing evidence for an unavoidable proceeding. Then I shut the computer, returned downstairs, prepared grilled sandwiches for the kids. Edges trimmed, pickles served separately. Exactly how she used to make them. Exactly how I make them now. When the garage door activated hours later, I sat on the sofa reading. Children already asleep, television volume off. She entered humming, smelling of wine and unfamiliar cologne, dressed in a sweater I'd never seen in our home. "Oh, hey," she said brightly, hanging her keys. The traffic was absolutely terrible. I managed a small, controlled smile. I'm sure it was crowded. She poured herself wine like she'd just returned from exercise class, not from a 48-hour family visit that apparently included her coworker, positioned around her like a dance partner. The glass clinked against the bottle more loudly than usual, or perhaps my hearing had sharpened. She moved through the kitchen, humming something tuneless. Some streaming service indie music she insisted balanced her nervous system. I was dicing onions, methodical, focused, each cut identical. "You seem quiet," she eventually observed, retrieving expensive goat cheese we both knew the children wouldn't eat. I shrugged, exhausted. "Long weekend." She positioned herself against the counter, swirling wine like she'd rehearsed the gesture. "You should have joined us. The kids had an incredible time." Not with me, not with their mother, not even with Daniel and his family. Just us, like I'd been digitally removed from the image. "Really?" I asked, keeping my tone neutral. She smiled. "Daniel is genuinely fantastic with them. Complete natural." I was amazed. Tommy asked if he could teach him football throws. I transferred chopped onions into the pan, ignited the burner. She waited for some reaction, received none, so continued. "It's amusing, right? Daniel and I constantly joke we're like a pretend little family during work travel. Conferences, seminars. It's become our routine." There it was. Our routine. I stirred the onions. They sizzled quietly. They appeared happy, I said finally. She laughed, but it fractured halfway through. Oh, please, don't make this strange. It's completely innocent. You understand how Daniel is. He adores children. His own, mine, yours, all of them. I glanced over, met her gaze briefly. Too long. Sure, innocent. She blinked, then smiled again, this time forced. Anyway, I'm famished. Let's have dinner. During the meal, she spoke like nothing had occurred. Office politics. Someone got terminated for supply theft. Her fitness instructor was expecting again. The children needed winter clothing. I nodded appropriately, offered strategic hums and agreements, allowed her to occupy the silence. The children were fortunately sleeping. She never asked about their weekend, never inquired if Tommy had recurring nightmares or if Emma practiced her vocabulary words. Just discussed herself and Daniel. After dinner, she abandoned her plate in the sink. I'll handle it tomorrow, she murmured, kissed my cheek from habit rather than affection, and drifted upstairs. I remained at the table longer, observing steam rise from her untouched tea, then stood, cleared dishes, loaded the washer. I ensured everything was silent before entering the office, securing the door, opening the laptop. The email was already composed. Follow-up, family law consultation. I attached the original social media screenshot. No modifications, complete caption visible. The children's faces were obscured in the preview, but remained identifiable. Still mine. I added one sentence. Please include this in the asset protection file. Children's images used without parental authorization. Sent. There was tapping at the door. Her voice filtered through. Hey, are you coming upstairs? Yes, I called back. Just finishing some tasks. Don't work too late, she called. Then her footsteps faded down the corridor. I stared at the screen another moment. The email had departed, traveling toward an attorney who didn't know me yet but would soon know everything. On the desk sat a reminder note with my task list. Deck repairs, tree service appointment, dentist for Tommy. I flipped it over and wrote a new item. Insurance, digital backups weekly. Then slipped it under the keyboard. She believed we were still following the same script, still performing domesticity, still trusting each other enough to accept casual jokes and wine-influenced denial. But I wasn't waiting for truth anymore. I wasn't asking questions. I was documenting answers. The office was institutional beige, the color of plausible denial. The type of place where nothing was ever wrong, just under internal review. Where smiles were manufactured, and everyone had messaging channels that doubled as evidence. At 8:43 a.m. precisely, an email landed in Jennifer Morris's inbox, Senior HR Compliance Officer at Sterling & Associates Solutions. Potential breach of family policy and misuse of family imagery. Sender, anonymous.protonmail.com. Attachment, img_5822.jpg. Jennifer opened it, blinked once, enlarged the image. There they were. Lisa, Daniel, and 2 children. Not Daniel's children, not Lisa's technically, but definitely not random stock photography children. Their faces caught golden afternoon light with autumn festival aesthetics that might have appeared in a company brochure except for the caption, "My true partner, perfect family outing." Jennifer read it twice, then again. The timestamp. Sunday, less than 24 hours prior. Lisa had tagged the location Autumn Ridge Farm, and Daniel had responded with a heart emoji. Several employees from the events team had also responded. Jennifer acted immediately. She flagged the image, attached it to a compliance case, added categories. Potential ethics violation, improper use of company family initiative, conflict of interest, personal public boundaries. By 10:30 a.m., the department head, legal affairs, and external PR had copies. The group message activated quietly. Just names with periods. Everyone understood. Need context. The issue wasn't the affair. That was merely gossip material. The issue was Lisa's role. Associate Director of Outreach, public face of the company's Families First campaign, the person who delivered presentations at schools about professional boundaries in the digital era, who had approved last quarter's Family Values presentation. There had already been an internal notation months earlier about her closeness with Daniel. Something regarding overly familiar travel documentation and suspicious lodging coincidences. It got dismissed. They were both high achievers, translation, too valuable to discipline. But now this. This wasn't just poor optics. It was distributable. By midday, people were murmuring. Lisa arrived at 11:58 a.m. carrying an oat milk latte. smiling like she'd solved the work-life balance equation. She glided past reception, complimented someone's jacket, bantered with Daniel near the printer, but she detected the subtle change. How gazes didn't hold. How two people abruptly stopped talking when she passed. How Jenna from accounting responded to her, "Hey, good weekend," with a brittle and rapid departure. Daniel behaved normally, too normally. Gave her a thumbs up when he spotted her in the break area and muttered, "Big week," before heading to a team meeting. At 1:12 p.m., her supervisor was summoned upstairs. No explanation, just a brief message. Director Quinn needs 5 minutes. At 2:03 p.m., she received the calendar invitation. Policy debrief, HR compliance, legal liaison, 8th floor conference A. She tilted her head, blinked at it. Strange, she muttered. At 2:07 p.m., she texted Daniel, "You getting this meeting too?" No response. At 2:22 p.m., Daniel walked past her workspace without acknowledging her. By 3:15, 3 additional employees had screenshotted the post. One forwarded it to a friend in PR with a single line. "We have a new Amanda from marketing situation developing." At 4 p.m., HR quietly began requesting flight records from the recent conference, cross-referencing hotel bookings, reviewing tagged posts from the company's official Family Inclusion Events album from 2 quarters ago. Captions that once seemed wholesome now read differently. "Thanks to Daniel and Lisa for leading the Family Day event at Autumn Festival. Big thanks to our outreach duo. #work family." Lisa didn't know it yet, but her caption wasn't just a mistake. It was documentation. By 4:46 p.m., a new folder appeared in the compliance directory. Lisa_IMG_5822_review with subfolders. HR timeline, social media archive, policy violation draft, communications with external if escalated. Lisa was still at her desk processing reports, still smiling, still floating on the assumption that what she posted was cute and relatable. She had no idea she'd just initiated the first domino falling. And HR? They weren't angry. They were methodical. The message arrived at 7:39 p.m. sharp. Brief, calculated. Rebecca Harper saw the post. "This isn't the first time, but involving our children. Call me." I didn't recognize the number initially, just stared at the name. Rebecca Harper. Until it connected. Daniel's wife, PTA mom, volunteer coordinator. The woman who used to wave at us across soccer fields while we all pretended our lives were stable and reasonably admirable. I stared at the screen, then at the framed photo above my desk. My daughter on my shoulders, smiling like the world was secure and kind. I called. She answered on the second ring. "You saw it," she said, voice crisp, controlled. "I did." She exhaled forcefully, not quite a sigh, more like someone sealing something toxic. "You knew already, didn't you?" "I had suspicions. The photo made it definitive." "Yeah," Daniel swore it was all platonic emotional support or similar nonsense. Called it professional closeness, like he was a surgeon, and she was the instrument. I didn't laugh, neither did she. "I'm not surprised," she added. "But the children, mine, yours, that's different." "She posted it publicly, caption and everything, tagged the location?" I checked. "That's the same place we visited last year. With me, with our children." Silence. Then she said, "Meet me tomorrow. Noon. I want to compare information." The next day, we met at a bakery halfway between our houses. Forced charm, exposed brick, hanging plants, overpriced pastries, no one finishes. We sat across from each other in a booth that smelled like burned espresso. Rebecca looked composed, tight ponytail, light makeup, jacket folded neatly beside her, but her eyes were bloodshot and her knuckles were white on the coffee cup. She produced her phone. "Let's begin." What followed was less conversation, more forensic examination. She showed me texts, over 60 of them, some brief, some disgustingly lengthy, sent late at night. Photos of hotel key cards, inside jokes I recognized from things Lisa said at dinner. One message was a selfie from a hotel bathroom. Daniel in the mirror, Lisa's reflection behind him. Not touching, but proximate. Staged like a joke, but staged. Then came travel dates, conferences, work trips, team building weekends. We started matching them to receipts. "It was too convenient here," Rebecca said, flipping to a spreadsheet she'd started. "Chicago. They told us it was a one-day seminar. Turns out they stayed 3 nights, same hotel, booked through the company under separate names. But if you call the front desk, same room." I added my evidence, notes I'd quietly maintained. Times Lisa missed flights. Nights she was too tired to video call. I showed Rebecca grocery receipts. One had 2 bottles of red wine, allergy medication, and men's shaving cream. Lisa's allergic to red wine. I'm not allergic to anything. We don't buy shaving cream anymore. I use an electric razor. Rebecca's lips tightened as she examined it. She always had an explanation, she said. Said I was insecure, that she was mentoring him, that I didn't understand her job's requirements. Same? She ever say you were emotionally unavailable? I huffed. She called me stable to a fault, said Daniel made her feel seen, like he's a spiritual advisor. She laughed once, sharp. She told me you were kind of checked out. Too domestic, I think was the phrase. We sat in silence after that, mutual humiliation soaked in espresso and stale lemon pastries. Finally, I said, "What do you want to do?" She met my eyes. Burn it down, but cleanly, quietly, the way they never imagined we could. Agreed. We planned it like a military operation. She'd forward me everything, texts, call logs, photos. I'd send her my lawyer's contact. We'd coordinate timelines, tag the same HR officers, trigger simultaneous reviews. No theatrics, no screaming matches, just precision. I want custody, Rebecca said. I want them to live with consequences, not chaos, not guilt, just results. Same here. They made this mess. They just don't know we're already holding the cleanup equipment. We didn't embrace when we left. No warmth, no camaraderie, just clarity. Let them romanticize chaos. We'd weaponize organization. The pen felt heavier than it should have. Not the weight, really, the permanence. Thick blue ink gliding across line after line. Initials at bottom right corners, signatures at each page's foot. My attorney, Janet Kroll, sharp as a guillotine in a navy blazer, sat across from me with a legal pad and silence that said, "This is the cleanest way." "You understand what this one does," she said, tapping the signature line I was about to reach. "Once filed, the trust owns the property, not you, not her. She'll have no claim, none, unless you explicitly invite her in." I nodded and signed. The house was no longer ours. It was a legal shell with me inside and her outside the door. A trust with my kids as sole beneficiaries and me as trustee. "Bulletproof college fund?" she asked, flipping to the next section. "Done," I said. "Pulled everything this morning." Janet smiled, not warm, satisfied. I'd moved quickly, too quickly, if I were trying to hurt her. But this wasn't about hurt. This was about removal, detachment, precision, the way you pull a rotten tooth before it poisons the blood. That morning, I'd walked into the credit union and closed our joint college fund. Every dollar we'd scraped together over years, every tax-sheltered cent. She'd always wanted it under both names, for unity. I transferred it into a new 529 plan under my name only, kids listed directly. No middleman, no ambiguity. The teller looked confused. "Planning for changes," I said. He didn't ask more. I handed Janet the final bank statement showing withdrawal and new account. "Car title?" she asked, flipping to the next section. "Transferred. New insurance, new registration, new keys." She scribbled something down. "Bank accounts? Split last week. New checking, old ones set to auto-freeze if 2 withdrawals hit the same hour." "Smart. You're not angry?" "I am. I'm just done leading with it." She paused, then turned slowly to the final form, the petition draft. "Do you want to include the photograph?" she asked, flipping the folder open to the social media post, printed in color, caption in bold. "My true partner, perfect family outing." My kids' faces were pixelated but still recognizable. Still mine. "Yes," I said, with a note. "Photographic evidence attached?" She clicked her pen and wrote it in the margin, just under "grounds irreconcilable differences." Nothing dramatic, nothing tabloid-worthy, just clean acknowledgement of rupture. I flipped through the full petition again. The lines were cold legalese, but I could feel the silence between them like a ghost pacing in drywall. Property divided, custody pending, assets frozen. Her name appeared only twice. Mine appeared 6 times. The kids were named 10 times. It felt right. Janet stood. "We'll file Wednesday. I'll also notify HR through back channels." Quietly. "We don't want the internal investigation crossing signals with legal timeline." I stood too. "Thank you. You handled this like someone who'd been preparing." I looked out the frosted window at the skyline beyond. Buildings like dominoes ready to fall the second you nudge them right. I said. She just picked the deadline. She handed me the folder, now thick with action. As I left her office, I passed another man in the waiting area, red-eyed, jittery, holding a plastic bag with receipts and photos. His hands shook. He looked like someone who'd just discovered betrayal. I was past that. Out in the parking lot, I sat in the car for a moment, stared at the dashboard. The timestamp blinked. 4:04 p.m. I'd told Lisa I had a hardware store run, and I did. Still needed deck screws and mulch. Life didn't pause just because someone lit a match inside it. I reached into the glove box, added the newly signed trust documents to the insurance folder. A USB drive sat underneath, labeled Backed Up Fireproof. Before pulling out, I texted Rebecca. Papers filed, ready. 3 dots appeared, then, absolutely. We were no longer married people. We were strategists, and the trap was nearly closed. She dressed like it was her coronation. Hair done, blazer crisp, that necklace she wore when she wanted to radiate just enough authority to be respected, but not enough to intimidate. She even skipped her usual platform heels for something executive chic, because today was the day, the one she'd been hinting about for months. At 9:06 a.m., her calendar pinged. Scheduled review, Glass Conference A, 8th floor. She smiled. That's the good room. The glass one. They used it for promotions, interviews with external partners. High stakes, but high reward stuff. She took it as confirmation. She left early, stopped for a matcha latte, smiled at herself in the car's vanity mirror. Finally, she whispered. Upstairs, people smiled at her, but not like before. Something brittle about their faces. Polite, sure, but thin. She didn't notice, not really. Too busy straightening her blazer and checking her reflection in the chrome elevator wall. When the doors opened on the 8th floor, she walked in like a woman already chosen, already celebrated, already halfway to a new salary bracket, until she saw who was in the room. HR sat at the far end. Jennifer, stone-faced. Beside her was Ron from compliance, fingers laced like a man prepping for a sermon. Janet from legal was there too, laptop open, unreadable. And across from them, me, and next to me, Rebecca. Lisa paused, blinking. Oh, she said. I thought... Jennifer didn't let her finish. Have a seat, Lisa. The door clicked shut behind her. That glass room suddenly felt like a fishbowl. Everyone outside could see in, but no one could hear a thing. She sat slowly, trying to rearrange her face somewhere between casual confusion and reluctant curiosity. Jennifer slid a piece of paper across the table. One page, centered, printed in full color. My true partner. Perfect family outing. Lisa stared at it. Didn't touch it, just stared. Like maybe if she held still long enough, the image would disappear. Jennifer spoke calmly. This image was brought to our attention yesterday morning. It includes another employee, 2 minors, and appears to be taken during a company-sponsored event. Lisa glanced at me, lips parting like she was about to start the playbook. The flirty deflection, feigned surprise, the "it's just a joke, honey" routine. But Rebecca was already placing her phone on the table, face up. Screen lit with Daniel's texts. Dozens, all time-stamped. The kinds of texts that strip varnish off every excuse Lisa ever rehearsed. HR continued, unfazed. This isn't about private conduct. This is about public misuse of corporate programming, potential breaches of ethics code, and reputational risk to both internal operations and external partnerships. Ron leaned forward. You're in a leadership role, Lisa. This is substantial. She swallowed hard. This is being blown out of proportion. I mean, look, we're a close team. Everyone knows that. Daniel and I have been friends for years. The kids, they love him. We were just... My true partner, Janet from legal cut in, voice cool. You're aware we have internal definitions for familial representation when it involves company branding? Lisa opened her mouth, closed it. She turned toward me, expression brittle, desperate for some anchor. I offered nothing. Rebecca sat still, hands folded, eyes locked on her. A quiet storm in a pressed blouse. I think, Jennifer said, it would be best for us to continue this with HR counsel present. For now, we'd like you to wait outside. Lisa stood, but not immediately. Still computing, still looking for the scene partner who would save the act, still believing there was an exit. But this wasn't theater anymore. She walked out with shoulders too high, like she didn't want to admit gravity. When the door shut, Rebecca leaned back and exhaled. For the first time, I stayed silent. Jennifer turned to me. Anything you'd like us to add to the report? I shook my head. No, that was her caption. I think it speaks for itself. She stood just outside the conference room door for 12 full seconds before pushing it open again. A knock would have made it dignified, but Lisa didn't knock. She re-entered like someone who thought the show was still running. Okay, look, she began, voice too bright, too fast. I get it. This looks bad. But come on. You really think this is worth dragging in legal? It was just a weekend. A photo. She reached across the table and plucked the printed image off the surface like it was a misfiled memo. Rebecca said nothing, didn't even glance at her, just tapped her phone screen again and slid it back into view. Another text, another timestamp, another nail. Lisa didn't look at it. I mean, Daniel and I joke all the time. That's our thing, the fake spouse bit. Everyone knows we're tight. It's like an office running gag. HR even laughed about it once at the retreat. Remember that, Jennifer? Jennifer didn't blink. Ron from compliance leaned forward. Lisa, this isn't about gags. This is about credibility, optics, and use of company resources, time, money, events, for what now appears to be a personal relationship masquerading as professional partnership. Lisa tried to laugh. It came out dry and strangled. Okay, but are we really going nuclear over Instagram? You can't tell me no one else has posted worse? No one answered. She turned to me. Honey, she started, voice lowering into a soft, calculated tone. Tell them you know this isn't some... I stayed put, kept quiet. I saw her switch to that voice I'd heard so many times, when she was behind on payments, when someone caught her in a lie, when she needed help getting out of trouble. But no one was throwing her a lifeline this time. She was on her own. Rebecca kept staring at her, cool and steady, like a teacher ready to kick someone out for good. Lisa looked back and forth at us. So what? You're both ganging up on me now? Is this some kind of payback? How long have you two been cooking this up? Lisa, Jennifer said, her voice flat. This affects more than your families. Kids are involved. Our company's name is on the line. This isn't personal. This is business. Lisa stopped breathing for a second. You keep talking about our image, she said, her voice cracking. But you didn't care when I was the poster child for family values. When I worked nights to make you look good. Ron nodded. That's exactly why this matters. Your name was on tons of events we paid for with both families there. That makes things messy. And what you wrote made it worse. Jennifer jumped in. My real partner, that's not just personal. That's making a statement. I was kidding around, Lisa said, barely loud enough to hear. It was meant to be funny. Rebecca spoke up. You dragged my children into your joke. Lisa spun toward her. Rebecca, come on. They adore Daniel. And you, tell me you've never had a friend you flirted with. Rebecca's tone was dead flat. Not one who sends me hotel meeting invites marked as work sessions. Lisa's mouth twitched. Janet from legal shut her laptop without a sound. Jennifer let out a breath. Lisa, step outside, please. That was it. Lisa got up but froze, looking at the paper in her shaking hands. She walked to the door like she was moving through mud. Before leaving, she turned to look at me. Her face wasn't mad or begging, just empty, but I didn't budge, didn't nod, didn't follow. The door shut behind her like the end of a bad movie. Nobody made a sound. Rebecca turned her phone face down. I sat there watching the quiet spread around us.